Good morning. This video is also for Watchtower. Now, these last two videos have been made because somebody wrote to me and said, look, if we're at the very end of the last days, should we not go back to the Kingdom Hall? After all, Jehovah's Witnesses bear God's name Jehovah. Are they not the true religion? Well, I prefer not to tell anybody what to do. By all means, go back to the Kingdom Hall if you want. But let's have a look, first of all, at Romans chapter 10 and verse 9, and it talks about how we can be saved. If your lips confess that Jesus is Lord, and if you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, then you will be saved. By believing from the heart, you are made righteous. By confessing with your lips, you are saved. Do we have to join a particular group? Well, since we might be at the very end of the last days, I'd like to look at Matthew 23, and I'd like Watchtower to pay particular attention to this and look at the very great similarities between themselves and the Pharisees. Matthew 23 starts off in verse 2 that the Pharisees occupy the chair of Moses, just as the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses occupies the chair of Jesus. Then it goes on. Do what they tell you and listen to what they say, but do not be guided by what they do, because they don't practice what they preach. They're hypocrites. They tie up heavy burdens and lay them on men's shoulders. Have we not all experienced that? A heavy burden that was never lifted by the governing body. Some of us still suffer from that. Then in verses 8 to 12, it talks about not calling ourselves rabbi, master, father, or teacher. Why not? Because we have one Father who is in heaven, and we have one teacher, and that is Jesus Christ. So if the governing body say that we can only worship God through them, they are calling themselves teacher, and they're going against what Jesus taught. Now we go on, verses 16 to 22 talks about the Pharisees being lovers of money. Now we know that Watchtower is a lover of money. Their business dealings are more important to them than studying the Bible. I know that from various videos that they put up. And then in 23 we have about the Pharisees that they charge the Israelites with paying a tenth of the mint, the dill and the cumin. Now there was no specific law which said that they had to give a tenth of the herbs. I'm sure the Levites could have grown these herbs in window boxes or something similar. However, there was nothing wrong with giving a tenth, but the problem was that they discounted the weightier matters of the law: justice, mercy, and good faith. The whole point of the law was to show the Israelites that the law couldn't save them, that they couldn't find a sacrifice amongst animals that would save them, that they needed Jesus Christ. It was to lead them to Jesus. And the Scribes and Pharisees missed the whole point of it. Now, what about justice? Well, we know that Watchtower has replaced God's justice with their own justice, and with awful results. Now, mercy is not what we might think of it. We might think, okay, somebody sins against us and we're merciful and we forgive them. That's not really what mercy is about. If we see someone who is poor and sick and doesn't have the means to support themselves or no clothes, then we're merciful in that we share what we have. That's real mercy. And then faithfulness, we keep a humble view before our Lord Jesus Christ and try to carry out his commands as best we can. Now, what we need to bear in mind is that the Scribes and Pharisees had the true religion. They had the law of Moses. They were, they supposedly worshipped God. Actually, they were out for themselves, but even so, what they had in their hands was the glorious law of Moses. And yet, what did Jesus say to them? He called them hypocrites, whitewashed graves, and then in verse 33, serpents brood of vipers. So despite them having the true religion, they were the worst of sinners. Jesus did say that murderers and adulterers and thieves were very bad and needed to change their ways, but the worst condemnation was for these self-righteous Pharisees. So what has been the result of Watchtower's tyranny? Ezekiel 34, it talks about God's condemnation of the shepherds of Israel. And it said that they were feeding themselves and not the flock. You failed to make the weak sheep strong, or to care for sick ones, or bandage the wounded ones. You failed to bring back strays, or look for the lost. On the contrary, you have ruled them cruelly and violently. For lack of a shepherd they have scattered, to become prey of wild animals, and they have scattered far. Many have left Watchtower to go to atheists who teach them that there is no God and that you don't need to have morals. You can do whatever you want. Do, even if it hurts somebody else, do what you want. It's a selfish way of life and it doesn't bring happiness. But this is the result of Watchtower's cruelty. However, is there any hope? Well, you can read the whole chapter, Ezekiel 34, but in verse 23, God says, I mean to raise up one shepherd, my servant David, and to put him in charge of them. I, Yahweh, will be their God, and my servant David shall be their ruler. Yahweh, or Jehovah, is our God. Jesus Christ is our ruler. We don't have to join a group. You can if you want. Yeah, I'm sure that many of Jehovah's Witnesses are serving God faithfully. So I'll leave you with all these thoughts. And also, thank you so much for your kind comments for my well-being. Someone suggested I have an ice bath, and I'm sure it would have done me the world of good. Anyway, I'll leave you with a video of where I was on Friday, and my feet were in that water, and it was freezing. So, thank you so much for watching, and do take care. God bless you all. Thank you.